Greetings everybody, John Tsar here. This is my channel WikiGameGuides, and in this video I'm going to show off every single type of car, class of car, and every type of race in the Crew 2. It's coming out tomorrow, June 29th, and the Crew 2 has really expanded a lot on the variety of races and the styles of cars that you can use from the first game, and especially later on in this video when we get into like the Jetsprints and the air races and monster truck trick jams and that kind of stuff. Like it's really getting very creative compared to the first game. All the different there's timestamps for every type of race and every type of car below the video, either in the description or in the body of the article on the website. Anyway, so this very first one, standard street race. I'm also going to be showing off different camera angles from a lot of the different vehicles because I know that I prefer the kind of third person view. A lot of people prefer this in view or in car view, especially if you got multiple monitors, but I really don't like it. Anyway, so the street race car is the most traditional. This is what you're going to start with in the game. You've played this 1,000 times before in every other game. This second race type here is the drifting challenge. I'm using a Beamer, and it's like every single type of there's 14 different classes of vehicles, and every single one, each vehicle is customizable with multiple models available, different ones to buy and all that kind. And I personally have never been good at drifting in any game, and I'm very lucky to have even recorded this stretch here where I ended up getting like a really nice point boost right there, because I really struggle with these drift challenges. I don't know how I'm gonna, if I want to get 100% in this game, I don't know how I'm gonna do it with all these drift challenges. I've just never been good at the drifting in this game or any racing game ever. But anyway, there's a series of quests for those as well. This third race mode is the drag race, and it's an interesting format. So at the very beginning of it, you're kind of doing a little burnout, get the tires ready, and you're supposed to just hold the gas until it's in that little green meter on the left. And then there's zero tutorial for this, but then you're supposed to just hold the gas and hit right bumper to shift when the tachometer is in the tiny little green area. And then you're racing against the clock to get underneath the target time to actually complete the challenge. And you get 3 goes at it, or 3 attempts for every time you load it, but you can just load it over and over again. It's not like you're racing against anything other than a ghost. So I don't know why it's not just like go until you give up or you quit or something. I don't know. Anyway, now we're on to the hypercar race. These are incredibly long races. I want to say that the world record time for this race was like 13 minutes or something like that. And usually the world record, I want to say, is probably 30% faster than any time I was able to get. And the world record, I mean, even pre-launch, it seems like they're with the totally like perfect cars in the game and people who are hitting every turn perfectly, not just, you know, okay, here's my first attempt at the race and I'm going to, you know, see how good I can do with this car. It's not like class based, like, oh, here's the stock model supercar versus the top of the line one with all the different mods and that kind of stuff. One thing I want to mention right now before I forget, I'll go over a couple other tips and tricks for this game as well. It's not super obvious how to restart or abort a mission when you're in the middle of it. If you press Y, oh my god, I'm going to talk about the AI in a second here. If you press Y when you're in a mission or a triangle, it brings up a little sub menu where you can abort or restart or whatever. Now we are doing the Moto Cross, or I'm sorry, the Rally Raid off-road. Kind of reminds me of MotorStorm, PlayStation 3 exclusive, I think. Anyway, so the AI in this game, very subpar. As you saw in that previous clip, like, they follow a line and that's about it. They don't really get creative with how they drive, and that's hard to, I don't know how to describe it better than that, really. That the AI, it's very basic. Like, they don't They're not like jostling for position. They stay on the course. They're not nudging each other. Like when you play a game like Forza Horizon compared to this, and you really look at how the AI is working with you and working against you to block you or to nudge you, like this game does not do it. And that last clip shows it perfectly. Like the AI, the car was just right in the middle of the line, which meant that it was hitting every single one of those water barrel barricades that you see on the highway. Like it was just driving perfectly down the center and sending hundreds of those flying up into the air, which, I mean, it's a dead giveaway for how simple the AI is in this game. Anyway, so this next race here is the Moto Cross. It's getting me really excited actually for the new Trials game. There is a lot of in-air control of these vehicles. It's not like the crew has always played fast and loose with physics, which makes it a fun game, right? Like if it was just, oh, you better be throwing your weight around and this is a, you know, skateboarding simulator, like skate, like it doesn't make it as fun to kind of screw around. But you'll see here in a second I go to first person view and do a backflip, and you can really throw your vehicle around like after you've kind of started the jump and are already in midair and already have like your momentum going one direction, then you can just completely change it the other direction midair. And that is terrifying. Like I've never done a backflip. I've done backflips on like trampolines and stuff like that, but I'm a big skier. I've never done a backflip skiing. I cannot imagine doing something like that. That is just terrifying. Like looking up at the sky like that. Ooh, man, I'm getting. I can never do a stunt like that in real life. So that's why we play video games, right? The next race type is the Rally Cross. Pretty similar to the Rally Raid, except a little bit faster vehicles, combinations. Well, most of the races are, you know, you versus 7 other racers, and most of the races, especially on normal difficulty, it's simply just get in the top 3, whereas the Rally Raid, it's against the clock, and you have to beat a ghost, essentially. Now these, it's just like, okay, you just gotta do better than those guys. But like I was saying before, because the AI is relatively one note, it's almost like you're racing against a ghost, like you're racing against the clock, not necessarily other people, because they're so like following their line and just not they're not very intelligent. So what other tips and tricks did I want to go over? Let's see, go through my notes. Oh, biggest tip: always. When you need to pause the game, always pause when you're on a straightaway and in a straight line, not when you're going into a turn, not any other time, because for whatever reason, it takes from the moment when you hit pause to about, there's like a little animation, maybe half a second long, to where the game actually then pauses. And then when you're coming out of the pause, there's about another half a second animation. So you lose about a second of time where your car is actually moving, but you can't really see what you're doing. So only pause in straightaways. Let's see, now we are on to the Aerobatics challenges. These are the most nimble. If you've ever seen like the Red Bull planes that do all the crazy tricks, that's what this is like. The challenges are usually like, okay, you need to fly up, like there'll be 3 objectives that you need to do. They can be tough to pull off if you're not like perfectly level. Like the game isn't always perfect, or isn't always super great at detecting a loop if you don't nail it perfectly. So the 3 different camera angles for this for the airplane are very interesting. Like this mode right here, where it's kind of a third person, but not fixed to the orientation of the plane. It's very tough to do, but it makes for some very cinematic shots. But at the same time, the game also has this great photo mode. So I don't know that I would actually use it, but going first person and seeing the props in front of you like that is really fun as well. Going super first person, I don't know what you call that, unobstructed first person, it just feels like you're Superman flying around San Francisco. It's really fun. And obviously the Golden Gate Bridge and New York City and flying through the Grand Canyon, stuff like that. It's really, really... I've done a lot of traveling around America. I've been to all these places, and it's still really fun to see in a game. I wonder, I'm trying to think, is it more fun to see these sites because I've seen them in real life? Is it more fun to see it in a game and like play with the Golden Gate Bridge and the Empire State Building in a game because I've been there? Or is it more foreign and less real if you've never seen these sites before? I guess let me know in the comments if you've never been to, I don't know, some of these major monuments in the US, like Golden Gate Bridge and the Empire State Building, probably the two most famous things, you know, pieces of architecture in the US, other than maybe Mount Rushmore or something like that, which I actually, now that I say that, I have not looked to see if it's in this game. So anyway, we're on to the next mode. This is called Jetsprint. Oh wait, no. I wrote down the wrong thing. This is not Jetsprint. This is a motorboating son of a bitch kind of thing. And these boat races are incredibly tough until you get the little pop-up that says hold back on the left joystick to lift the nose, and you gain significantly more speed. I tried the very first basic boat race like 4 or 5 times, just could not beat it, was always getting second place. And I couldn't figure out why, and it's because you have to hold the nose back to get enough speed to actually win those races. And there's like no tutorials in this game. I just got lucky that it popped up on the loading menu or something like that. So anyway, now we are on to one of my favorite modes in this game, the monster truck. And as you can see from these tricks that I'm doing here, physics, what physics? Newton, who's that? Like, it's just completely insane. Like, all the tricks you can do with this car and how it flips through the air. It's incredibly fun. Reminds me a lot of Rush 2049 on the N64. If anybody is old enough to have actually played that game that is watching right now. The half pipe is a super fun place to take the... I'm just laughing at like doing these spins and double backflips in the half pipe and trying to get momentum. I mean, it just looks so insane. It's so silly looking to me with this monster truck, and like, if you land the tricks correctly, you can really get some good speed and do some crazy tricks, which is really fun and satisfying when you land them correctly. But kind of unlike a skateboarding or a BMX biking game, if you land backwards, you're not going to keep your momentum. You will crawl to a halt, and you will need to turn. Like, you really need to. It's not a skateboarding game, though it may look like it when you're on the half pipe. Like, you really need to land forward and keep going forward. It would be kind of freaking cool if they were somehow able to. I mean, like I was saying, physics. What physics? Why not just make this thing go as fast backwards as it goes forwards, right? Like, that would be pretty crazy. And would it be fun? I don't know, but I think it would be at least interesting to see. Maybe the developers tried that and cut it because it was really dumb. But anyway, this is one of my favorite modes in the game. There are, I want to say, 3 or 4 different monster truck skateboard jam parks like this throughout the game, and this one actually has the least amount of loop-de-loops and the least amount of features of some of the other maps, or some of the other monster truck jam areas. Now we are on to the Powerboat, which is very similar to the motorboat. A little bit faster. You're racing against other people instead of just against the clock. Same thing as before. You better hold back on that left stick, or else you will not get enough speed to win the race. I can't emphasize that enough. When you're in the boats, hold back on the left stick when you're in a straight line, so that you lifts the nose up of the boat, or the bow, I should say, not the nose, and it gives the boat significantly more speed. It's impossible to win these races without doing that. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about? Let's see. Oh, the upgrade system in this game. A tip on that. A lot of times, so after every race that you successfully complete, usually that means beating the clock or getting in the top 3, it will drop 1 to 2 to 3 upgrades for the vehicle that you are in. And actually that just gave me an idea, I need to double check. But you need to be sure to equip them after you pick them up, and if for whatever reason like they disappear after the end of a race, they send them to your mailbox, and your mailbox can only be accessed by loading up one of the HQs on the map. One of the headquarters. There's like an off-road one and a street race one, and then walking to the mailbox, which is just a giant shipping container, and it'll be glowing, filled with a bunch of these engrams basically, and you open it up and then there's like, oh, there's 5 different upgrades for this car. I'm all of a sudden have 5 extra ranking points or whatever for the vehicle. The snow does not seem to have any effect whatsoever on the traction of this car, which I thought was kind of disappointing. This is the touring car. I'm in a Mini Cooper, a souped up Mini Cooper, and I loved the inside view of that with the windshield going, or with the windshield wiper slapping back and forth to clear off the snow, even though it didn't really seem to have any effect, but whatever. Anyway, so this is the air race mode, another airplane, not as stunt heavy, more precision flying and speed. You need to go past these pylons basically and orient your airplane in the direction that it's indicated, and the closer you are to the direction that's indicated, well, I'm sorry, not the closer you are, if you line up the plane correctly, it'll subtract time from your overall time, and if you like hit the pylon or something like that, it will then add time. And it's a little confusing because every time I go past one of these pylons, you'll see that I'm actually behind the target time every single time, but in the top left you'll see it says -5 seconds, so I'm actually 5 seconds, now 6 seconds ahead of the target time, because that is that -6 seconds for hitting those positions correctly is subtracted after you finish the race. So you can finish the race with a plus time, and then it subtracts those, and you'll actually complete the race and you know, get the upgrades and get the followers and the money and all that kind of stuff. And finally, this is the Alpha GP. This is the F1 style racing. I think F1 is super protective of their trademark, so they're F1 cars. Granted, maybe not. I don't know a ton about motorsports, but anyway, thanks for checking out this video. I hope you learned something from it, and if you did and you enjoyed the video, give me a like or a comment or something on the video. It helps me out a lot in return. And be sure to subscribe to the channel for more Crew 2 videos. Thanks for watching, and game on.